welcome back to From Nine to Mom.
where we discuss balancing the 9 to 5 hustle with the beautiful chaos that we call motherhood.
And I know you all missed us. We were MIA for a week and a half with no uploads, nothing. But we've been doing something very special. So if you follow us on social media, you got a glimpse at what we're been working on and the beautiful new face of From Nine to Mom.
Yeah, we're super excited to share our rebrand with you. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today. And Katie and I have over 20 years between the two of us collectively in some capacity of marketing, not always direct marketing, but over the last 5.5 years, we've worked together specifically rebranding our company that we work for, working on rebranding ourselves as moms, working on rebranding clients' faces and telling their story. And this journey for us was really special because it was the first time we were able to do something from scratch together that we are both very passionate about. So we are super excited to bring it to you. And we figured, why not share with you the steps we took? We're not perfect, but we've done it a few times. And we want to be able to just tell you a little bit about the process and what we went through. Maybe it'll help you out.
Yeah, so I think we really need to rewind to the beginning, which was fall of last year. We just always had been chatting back and forth about, the shit we can't make up about being moms and working. And just we're like, man, if we worked anywhere else, people would we be fired from some of the excuses we've come up with? But we really started trying to dive into audio and podcasting from a business standpoint on the marketing side. And this was kind of our test run. We wanted to learn about it and figure out what we needed to do, how good of equipment, are we going to be any good at it?
Yeah.
And it kind of turned into a really fun passion project for us.
Yeah. And we tested a lot of different things and learned what not to do. And we were able to consult a bunch of quote unquote experts, used our knowledge. And it's just something that went from what we did every day, bitch about life being moms, laugh about the stupid stuff that was going on, and take that into a place where it became, for me, therapy. I'd say this is therapeutic to be able to talk. And then also became a passion of ours to share and hear you guys talk back to us about, oh my God, I was dying laughing at this. That just happened to me yesterday. And we're really looking forward to being able to expand on the podcast. And why not put a fresh new face to it? We're taking it seriously now and we're excited about it. So we're not going to be serious because that's just not who we are. But we're taking the steps to be a serious podcast.
We're trying to be legit out here.
Yeah, that's
we want some street cred. We want to have a decent look and not just like Canva BS that I whipped up. So we've rebranded our logo, our colors. If you guys have been watching, you can see I'm kind of in a studio-ish now, we'll say. Danielle's studio is under construction.
It's going to be in my son's closet, just so you all know. It's going to be really sick. Yes.
Yeah. But a lot of the rebrand, kind of the inspo came from Danielle's current background. So if you can kind of see the resemblance of some of our colors, and that kind of came from there, which is really cool.
Yes. And, when we looked at our rebrand, we kind of leveraged the fact of a discovery call that we've done with clients. How do we rebrand? Where do we start? And the first thing that we did was really try and figure out, what is our niche? Like, who are we trying to talk to, and what are we talking about, and what's the value proposition? What do we offer? And I think that in looking at that, Katie and I realized we're talking a lot about how hard it is or how crazy it is to be a working mom. So we looked at it, and that's really who we're talking to and who we are. And then the value prop is simply that we're literally just going through the shit and going through the motions just like everybody else. And we have the means and resources to be able to learn how to share that and engage with other people. So when we sat down and said, who are we? Who do we want to be? We looked at who we truly are at this point. And we talk about rebranding from a marketing standpoint all the time. But Katie and I are also rebranding ourselves as moms, trying to make mom friends. How do we want to, like, all of that stuff? And who are we surrounding ourselves with? And the people that are listening right now, and the people who are supporting or feeling empowered or not so alone by the content we're throwing out there, that's who we're trying to surround ourselves with. And Katie, I know your friend gave you a really cool analogy of this, and I feel like you should share it because it's kind of sat well with me.
We got to give a shout out to Heather, twin mom out there, and she sent me a reel, and it was like, who's your front row? Like, who are the people, no matter where they live, what phase of life you're in, they're just always in your front row. They're going to be the people when you're up on stage doing whatever it is you're doing. They're just going to always be in the front row cheering you on. And it definitely stuck with me a little bit. Like, that's, you go through so many phases, and especially going into motherhood, like, you can lose a lot of friends. You enter a whole new
Yeah, it's
phase
tough.
of life where you are, you feel alone, and you feel like, nobody's going through this. And I know, especially for me, I had Jack before any of my friends were even thinking about kids. And I was like, oh my God, like, none of them are going to understand where I'm coming from. And I, did my best to make sure, you keep that, but you always got your front row, right? Like, the people that are going to be there, no matter what phase of life you're in. So that was definitely interesting to think about when we talked about, like, rebrand as a kind of on a business sense, but like
Mm-hmm.
also personally as a, rebranding yourself as a mom.
And also as a mom with a career. And I think that I was the person who was always the first to show, last to leave, always willing to take on other
Yeah.
things. I can't be the first to show, last to leave anymore, but I still want to be viewed as a professional in the business world, but I also want to be fun
Yeah.
with my kids. And it's just a whole nother
Yeah.
situation. And you think about who stuck with you in your front row. And Katie, like, you and I didn't know each other 6 years ago. And then we
Right.
came into each other's life. And now I can't imagine not having you as somebody
Yeah.
in my front row forever, right? And our kids' front
Yeah.
rows, like supporting
Yeah.
each other's families and our ambitions. And I think that, as you become a working mom, that kind of starts to happen for you. And we want to be
Yeah.
part of, it sounds corny, but it's true. Like, when we were thinking about, like, who's our niche, who we want to speak to, we want to be a part of our listeners' front row. Like, we want to be there supporting you, be
Yeah.
a part of your day, something to make you feel, seen and heard,
Right.
and not so alone. And we want you to be a part of our front row. And a lot of you are. I mean, Leah, I'm going to shout out to my friend Leah. She's had her own podcast. She's an incredible business owner herself. And she has her own podcast, but she's always the first to comment or like or support. And like, that's what your front row is all about, those people. So that's kind of what we were trying to build and brand ourselves with. And that's how we came up with our niche and our, value prop, and what led us into the next piece, which is really our physical appearance and how we show up to the world. Like, was From Nine to Mom the right name for us? Obviously, we're keeping it. And Katie, I think we both agreed when we looked at it, rebranding yourself physically to the world now is a whole nother thing, both business wise and mom wise. But we really started with the name and does it resonate, and then went on from there.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that we went through was that whole piece of going through the steps and the Q&A and the consult of that we would do with a customer typically, but we had to do it to ourselves and then
So
give that to a graphic designer. And we worked with the best graphic designer out there, and she was able to kind of come up with our theme. And if you kind of look at our new logo, it kind of portrays a diner sign, even with, the podcast and that look. But, we kind of rolled with it because it spoke to us in the fact of, like, diners are open 24/7. You can find one wherever, and, they're reliable. You're going to get a consistent meal for the most part. And, it just really, like, resonated with us that, that's a lot of, we say at the beginning of every podcast, balancing the 9 to 5 to the chaos of motherhood. But then, part that we don't say is, we never clock out. We always talk about clocking in and out here. But moms we're clocking into one thing, but it's really, are you even clocking out? You're just moving to the next thing through your day. So,
and when she came back with the brand and gave us the logo options, there were quite a few, but she picked this one too. Me and Katie both are were drawn to this logo right away for all the things that Katie said. And the thought of that neon sign, like, when you're walking around New York City streets, if any of you have been in New York City, I have a favorite diner that used to be by my friend's house, but you always knew you could find that diner sign on, and it was going to be there. And we don't say this in our intro all the time, but it's something that we started with early. Our first logo had, like, the lighted sign. We played with the light switch because there is no off switch. like there is no off switch at a diner. It's on 24/7. There is no off switch to motherhood. We rolled with it. Like Katie said before, the designer was inspired by my crazy ass background, which is one of my best friends actually designed the behind for me. And he's like, this is just your personality. Like it's all the things, but the color. And she ran with that piece. And we really do feel like we want to be, Katie and I are different in terms of Katie was that sports athlete person and I was the cheerleader, the woo-woo, like out there. But at the end of the day, we're both pretty feminine girls. And we also have that, I'm going to call it masculine side. We're both passionate about business and we have a lot of drive and we like to be in control. So I think that she did a really nice job incorporating that with some softer and darker colors. Katie's favorite color is purple. My favorite color is yellow. You'll see little bits and pieces and highlights of that in there. And she blended it really nicely to represent, I think, both of us.
Absolutely. And I think as we were kind of prepping for this, we wanted to really talk about how rebranding yourself also with, we're talking a lot of business, but too like rebranding yourself as a mom, there's that physical part of it, right? So like this podcast, we did the logo and that, but like the mom side of it, like when you're rebranding as a mom, like, there's always, everyone gets the mom cut, right? Like you get your hair cut probably about 6 months postpartum. I need a stat on like how many moms chop their hair. And
I
then
didn't do it the first time, but the second time it was immediate, like weeks.
See, I did it the first time and not this time. I just accepted that my hair is only down for this probably 10, 15 minutes that we're on here, and then it'll be up.
It's over.
My life. But between that, like, you just like try to get yourself back. So you go through,
and my
mom go through said, a ton.
Yeah, my mom said a long time ago to me, and this is going to sound shallow, but it's not. Like is drawn to like. So how many times have you been at the pickup line or been at a sporting event and somebody's wearing like shoes that you love and you go over and that's like your topic of conversation? She's like, I look for people who looked just as frazzled as I was, but also looked like they would be into the same things as me. And I'm only like laughing about this because thinking about what I just said to my last Stitch Fix designer. So, in Stitch Fix, you can write a note. Yeah. I never do, but I went in and I was like, listen, I'm a mom. My son just started sports. I have to go to sports fields on Saturdays and Sundays. I showed up in a dress the other day. I didn't say this to her. I looked like an absolute idiot. So I was like, please help me, send me clothes that are trendy, make me look cool, but also make me look sporty. And I'm laughing because that's amazing. A rebrand, right? Like help me rebrand myself so that and it's not that you're not trying to be you, right? You're always you at the core. And that's why you start any personal rebrand, marketing rebrand. You don't want to stray from who you are. And like, you don't give a shit what people think about you. Of course, you should be you, do you. But when you're trying to now fit that you into your new world, you do have to think about like, how do I want to show up? And what does that look like for me? And I'm a high heel girl. Like high heels aren't going to work at the sports field. Like, so I've got a huge collection now of 6 sneakers that I'm wearing all the time. And and you don't wear heels as much, Katie. So it's just those pieces where you're trying to figure it out.
And half of it is you have to buy all new clothes because nothing fits you. So that's welcome to the mom part of it. Like,
let's start with that. Like,
just throw everything out and then just get all new stuff because like it's a rebrand, but like you have no choice.
It's a forced rebrand. My boobs aren't in the same place that they used to be. Like I have to rebrand them, right? Like
that's
it's
like a whole episode about bras and where to freaking shop for that. Like
it applies to all aspects of your life. And that's the thing. Like, where do I shop now? Because it's different. So the rebrand for us, we tried to pick like from 9 to Mom, something that would resonate from a business standpoint, personal standpoint. We tied it all together and we're experiencing it right now as I'm trying to find the like next Tinder for making mom friends out there. Like,
I think there is one. I think there is one for, I don't know if it's mom people, but it's for friends.
We're going to have to look into that. There's got to be one for mom friends. But anyways,
just like, that's a whole,
you know what? We'll do a whole nother episode on making mom friends because that is insane.
Are we really the right people to talk about that?
Probably not. We'll have a guest. We'll have a guest on for that.
Somebody that's really friendly will be on for that. Oh, that's too funny. But I think, from that whole physical appearance and branding and that part, we kind of started now entering the phase of goal setting, right? Like we're trying to figure
Yes.
out how are we going to know if this is like did we make the right calls? Is this really identifying the brand that we want? And obviously on the business side, like, we're going to know based on if people start following us, they engage
All
with
of
our
that.
content.
Our
And
business brains were like, okay, what are our KPIs? What are we measuring against? What are our SMART
right,
goals? And we were
right,
laughing at ourselves as, okay, how many people follow us, like us, engage, repeat listeners, dumb
right,
stuff. It's not dumb, it's important. But for us, that was what we naturally led on. And then we were laughing, like, how do you know if you're successful in your rebranding of yourself or as a mom? But it's, you have to set your own specific goals no matter what.
right.
And then we also talked, it was easy for us to set goals in this case of what we were
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. Like Katie said, we're trying to be more legit, get that street cred. We just want to hit more people, be able to make this more of a thing for us in our lives, a
Right.
way for us to, do all the things that we're trying to do financially, personally, but as individuals, you also need to hold yourself accountable. Katie and I have
Right.
spreadsheets and different things behind the scenes that we're using for this accountability, but there's also accountability in your life. Like, how are you holding
Yeah.
yourself accountable for those goals? And right now, for example, Katie, you and Ryan are doing some crazy, well, it's not crazy, soft 75 family style.
Yeah, right. We made our own rules for the 75 soft, but it's really like we just kind of planned between now and our next event that we want to like start working out a little bit more. It's getting nicer out here, so like we can get outside, and we're just trying not to eat out all the time because it's such an easy scapegoat. Um, so we just made some rules up for ourselves, and I absolutely made a sheet that is on our fridge that we're
Of
both like
course.
checking off our workouts and that. And me and him are so competitive that we're like, I'm ahead one, no, you're ahead one workout. Like, so we've been kind of putting it that way, but like otherwise accountability, it is so hard. Like if you don't have like someone or something
Yeah.
that is like really truly holding you accountable, it's like you forget about it and move, like you just kind of
It's
keep
easy to
living.
make excuses. And Jordan
Yeah.
and I, for example, you and Ryan are very competitive with each other, great accountability partners.
Mhm.
Jordan and I are more enablers of each other. So for us to be accountable, but like with Colton, I have a habit tracker for him where he puts his
Right.
stickers and he earns
Right.
Cocoa Bucks. And I'm like, I need to apply this to myself. I need some Danny Bucks. Like I literally made dollars for him with his face on them. So it's to the point where maybe I need Danny Bucks, but I've always had a planner and
Mhm.
a way to hold myself accountable. And I have a habit tracker. I write down my habits for the week that I'm trying to accomplish. I physically can see I'm a visual person, a little bit of ADD,
Right.
I need that visual. Did I do it or did I not? And it's easy. It doesn't always work, but it's easy for me to see where I've been successful and where I've failed, but also from that accountability piece, being able to surround yourself, even going back to that front row, like who are the people in your front row that are going to
Right.
kick your ass or put you back in line.
Right.
And for me, I have a lot of those people, and it's very, very helpful. But I
Yeah.
think the next piece of accountability, you set these goals, you put your KPIs. We'll use Katie's example, work out 3 times a week, don't eat out under one. You can easily track those. And
Mhm.
I'm sure your goal is to feel healthier, financially be better off from not spending so much money on food and alcohol, and then
Right.
also lose weight, get toned, get
Why'd you have to
whatever it
throw
is.
alcohol in there? How'd you know we spend so much on alcohol?
Well, I mean, we're both, and let's be real. Uh,
We are.
so
That is one of the rules, is that we're only allowed to drink on social occasions, and we have a limit.
I failed at every single challenge of that I put together for myself. Like, I don't know
I
what
mean,
that
I'm
says
not
about
going to
me.
be a part of any dry like I did my dry months already in my life, and
Yeah.
so that sailed. I'll handle social events. It's going to force us to be social, if anything.
Yeah, I just feel like I get so excited and like hyped up and amped by the people around me. Like, I love being out with human beings, and then I drink more and then I'm more excited, and the adrenaline, it's just a bad thing. But maybe, that's a whole other topic as well. Accountability, it's fine. I had no accountability
Right?
in that arena.
Yeah.
Jordan is my
Right.
accountability there. He'll be like, she's
Right.
parting her hair to the other side. We need to go. Gotta go. So once it's a telltale sign. All my friends know it. Um, But then you go from this accountability piece. You have all these rules. You hit your goals.
Right.
But
Yep.
do they actually give you what you were looking for in the first place? So
Right.
our goals were to engage with more people, like be able to reach more individuals, be able to legitimize this. We measured it by saying more followers, more comments, more repeat listeners, whatever. So say we get the comments, engagements, repeat listeners. Did it give us what we wanted in the first place? And if you're a mom, you're like, I want to feel better in my skin. Did all the things you do actually make you feel better in your skin? Sometimes it makes you feel worse. Like I've gone and
Right.
done things where I'm like, this is what everybody's doing, so I'm going to do it. Like, okay, let's talk about the mom jeans. My body isn't made for mom jeans, but I bought a bunch of mom jeans because that's how I wanted to brand myself. Like, I'm cool.
Well, if you wear skinny jeans, you're a loser.
Right? But my body likes skinny jeans. They like skinny jeans. So I did
think
the mom
mine
jean.
does too. I'm trying with the mom jeans though.
There's some good ones out there. There's moms out there who are saying these mom jeans that they are making are not for us. We're going to make mom jeans that are for us. And now it's starting to turn around because they're not just your Levi's that are like so tight that the fupa like piece, like the little, like it's not working. So I did that. I took pictures with all the girls. I felt really cute in the moment because I looked just like them in my mind. And I was like, you look stupid. So I gave those jeans away because that part of my, like, I did what I said I was going to do, but it didn't work. And that's where I think you go into like that growth mindset and like, you know,
the strategy part,
part. Like what's your strategy to get there? And then, you know, did it work? And how are you going to know if it's working? And what happens if it doesn't work? Right.
Right.
So we'll talk a little bit about strategy first and then talk about what you do if, I guess, like my strategy at that case was I'm going to buy these pants.
Right.
Because that's going to help me look cooler and feel cooler with these people. I executed my strategy and in that case, it didn't work. But for us, we're hoping that our strategy does work and how we're going to get there. So Katie, talk a little bit about, you just spent half the morning executing part of today's strategy.
I know, right? Like changing our look on all of our platforms. But yeah, I think part of the strategy is looking at the goals and then how do we enhance, besides the branding piece, right? Like how are we going to enhance it to get what we need out of this, or get what we're looking for. And, you know, obviously the biggest thing for us is like getting more engaged users on here. And we know that from other brands and influencers and that giveaways are a huge thing, right? Like that's how you attract more people. So coming soon this weekend, everybody, we're going to be posting our first giveaway and hopefully that's going to really increase some engagement, get some new listeners in. But you know, we're going to keep rolling with, you know, just different types of content, how we're posting online and give you guys some more cliffhangers on Instagram. So those of you that only see us on Instagram, you know, maybe you'll come over here to YouTube or
because that's one of the things
or Apple, wherever you're listening. Yeah, is that we're giving everything away on Instagram, so we need to be more cut on there. So there's definitely a lot of pieces that we've learned, but that's also part of, you know, when you're developing your strategy, you have to trial and error, and I think that's, you know, the biggest thing to translate that to being a mom. There's so many things that we've trialed and errored. And it's like, all right, we need a new strategy. The biggest thing, sleep training, right? Like, here's what you need. Here's what, you know, we know what we're trying to get out of it. Like, I mean, every mom tries 10 different strategies before they get what they want. And it ends up just being time is the best strategy. But like, you know, there's so many ways to go about it and you have to find the right one that works for you and your family. So that's kind of the same thing here that we're trying to do is there's so many ways people are getting followers and likes and that, but we got to find what works for us and what we feel good about.
It's the A/B testing of life, right? So we talk in marketing all the time. When you have your goals, you know who you're reaching, you've got your story that you want to tell, and you like have figured out what the goals are. You go and say, okay, how do we, what's the best avenues? And there's not always a one size fits all. Right. And you have to A/B test just like that sleep training or my mom jeans or whatever it is. And you're going to find what works for you. And if you don't find what works for you, you might create like what works for you. And in this case, we are executing lights out. Just kidding. We are executing
total darkness. It's just an eclipse.
Yeah, it's fine. Another Rochester eclipse. But we're just trying to figure out like how do we take what our goals are and use what we know to be able to go out and try and get ours. And I think that Katie talked a lot about what we're trying to do, but also looking to see like, what is the best streaming avenue? Like at first we were talking about YouTube, like, do we want to be on YouTube? But YouTube's getting a lot of popularity, and it's getting popularity now. And you need to be able to be, we say this at work and I'm going to laugh at myself, like be found everywhere, be accessible to everyone everywhere. Right.
Right.
But it's
diversify your
portfolio. If you're in
Yeah.
finance, whatever line of business you are, diversify your marketing efforts. We always talk about diversification, but also if your time budget is limited, like where do you really want to be? For us, I do think that we've got the most of our people looking at us on Instagram, which is why we want to take those Instagram people and try and convert them over to listening to the full podcast somewhere. But the strategy that we're using, like Katie said, is just leveraging these platforms, cutting things shorter. The giveaway, I just want to give a little shout out to the giveaway, a little teaser. It's for tired moms. Katie and I are both tired moms. Both our kids chose to wake up.
Sponsored by coffee. And
I think we both have Starbucks this morning, sponsored by
God.
And right now, Danny Go. That's the only thing that's getting me through the mornings of Daisy not sleeping. But our giveaway will hopefully do a lot of the things that we're looking for. But now that we've got our strategy, and the strategy is laid out for Katie and I. Katie is a spreadsheets person. I'm a visual person. So not going to lie. Do we have to-dos, timelines? Of course we do.
Right.
But when you're a mom, you're not, you do put timelines together. How many times have you said, I want to lose 20 pounds by this, so I need to do 20 workouts in the next 30 days. Like I talked to my girlfriend today who's like, she has a party coming up and she's like, it's in 2 days. She's like, do I work out the next 2 days really hard? I'm like, no, at this point, enjoy yourself. But maybe if it's part of your longer term strategy, like why not? So I think you got your strategy down, you know what you're trying to do. And I kind of alluded to it earlier and got into it a little bit sooner, but hopefully what you put together works. But if it doesn't, or if something does work that you weren't expecting to work, because I think that's happened to both of us too, like, holy crap, all the science metrics, life lessons say that this is the best sleep training on earth. And then it doesn't freaking work. You're like, where do I go now? But that's where you've got to be okay with things kind of riding that wave of what is working and what isn't, and be able to adjust on the fly and be graceful with yourself and what you're doing, and learn every failure. It's so cliche, but every failure is almost more valuable than a success, because a lot of times if you just do things and it's successful, great, you did a great job. But if you don't fail, you don't learn what doesn't work, so you don't do it again. And I think that for us, we're hoping that we learn through every piece of this process, that we're successful in different aspects of this process. But I would say the fact that we started this podcast with no expectations, it was a learning experiment for our actual jobs. How do we podcast? What do we need? What do we do? We have failed time and time again. And then we've had successes in ways we didn't think. And I think that's what brought us to this point of wanting to rebrand, relaunch, and take it seriously. We really always withheld in ourselves that we're going to learn through this process. This is a learning process, and we want to make the most of it. So I'd say that's the most important part at the end of it all, is analyzing, going all the way back to the top and analyzing, did it work? What parts made it work? What parts didn't make it work? And being willing to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, like I blew that, or I did, that was amazing, right? Like that was incredible. I was thinking about like Colton's kindergarten, just in my mind, registration. Like I had a great time. I talked to so many moms, people I haven't talked to in a while. And I was like, that felt really good. But then there's times I go to sports games and I feel like an absolute loner and no one's talking to me. And I thought it was going to be amazing. So it's one of those things, like what made that day great? And what made me like more open. I felt good about myself. I went in with the right attitude, whatever. So I just think that no matter what you're doing, business, personal life, being open and willing to try new things and learn from them is probably the most important part. And you don't really have a choice when you're a mom.
No, you're entering this phase no matter what. But hopefully us going through this and talking through a little bit today gives you guys some insight on what we're going to be providing, what we're going to be dropping. And we're really excited about, the coming months for From Nine to Mom. And we love doing this. And it's been really fun and therapeutic for sure.
Yes, it's the joy, I think, and highlight of a lot of our week. And we just want to be able to continue to bring you great content and connect with you all. So keep an eye out for all the new stuff coming. We're not done. The giveaways, follow us, help us grow. We're shamelessly asking for your support as we go through this. And again, thank you for being a part of our journey, both in motherhood and in podcasting. We appreciate it.
All right, it's time to clock out and clock back into the 9 to 5. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, all.